Oh, your lotion. I love it. I had told her, I was like, I have two gray hairs and then I just saw the third one. And then she's like, oh, I'm 28 and I haven't got gray hairs. I'm like, I'm 22 and I'm already like. My niece got them when she was pretty good. Yeah. Okay. Good. Yes. Do you remember the constant? Like it's such a hassle. It is a hassle. That's why I feel like my password, all my passwords are very similar. I just change like one number. Yeah, it is a hassle. And have to change them here, right? Yeah. Great. Anyone has Duh.
anyone has schedules to sign, I am happy to do so. Oh, it's from here. That's great. That's great. Is it different classes? No, it's the same class, but it's a different routine. Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah, it's gonna be good for you. Yeah. Well. All right, we'll give it a couple minutes. I'm just trying to get this computer going. Hopefully. Right. Perfect. That's slow. So if anyone has scheduled for me to sign, I can sign them. Providing you and your CT sign it. So they're due next on Sunday. Yes, 13 days to D2L and water. And then once I have everybody scheduled, I'll start scheduling the Christmas. But I try to do, if it's feasible, 2 or 3 in a day. If they're near each other, the schedule works, so that's why it's helpful for me to get everybody's schedule. And then see what I work. So they'll let us know when, no surprises. Okay, but no, yes, yeah. I have a promise. Yeah, what I will do is, I'm trying to wait till like I said, I have everybody's schedule. What I will do is email you and say, you know, let's say you go on Tuesday morning, I'll say, how is this date at this time? You know, obviously, you just your question. I don't know what to call it. let me give it one more try before I try to with my. Last time I couldn't. And next one. So today, we're going to look at early childhood environments for infants and toddlers, environments, materials. And then I'll let you, even if it's just for a few moments, get together with your partner or partners and brainstorm. We're going to work on infant lesson plans. So brainstorm if you want to do a lesson plan for younger infants or older infants, and just brainstorm some ideas of what you want to do. I thought we would start today staring at this computer. So we'll start today. Everybody started their clinicals, right? Did you? Well, you were. Everybody started, right? Yeah. Okay. So I thought we could do some sharing and reflecting on your clinical experiences to start out today. So I did put the PowerPoint in D2L, which I think I'm going to have to go to my home computer. I don't know that yeah. Did everybody have the day off today? Yeah. Were you wondering why Northeastern was open today? I was. Closed Wednesday for Lincoln. Place else, as far as I know, is closed today. I mean, I'm sorry. Worst case scenario, everyone. I might just let me see if I can put this up. I might just have to have you. Two computers going at the same time. Well, that's yeah. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Neither. All right, so let's. I don't know if I can put this up. I'll try. Let's. Sorry, everybody. I'm very distracted by trying to get this computer working. Let's start with. This is just a quick check-in question, and we'll talk a little bit more about your clinical experiences in a few minutes. What my check-in question is. What have you noticed at your preschool clinical, or you could say your workplace? What have you noticed? What's one thing you noticed? Yeah.
Then after the students are napping, with whoever's still sleeping, they lessons. Like where I used to work, they would just wake everyone up.
And how long is the nap time?
I want to say like 30 minutes.
Oh, that's
Not very long.
yeah. Okay, so something longer.
Yeah.
Okay. And how does that work with the schedule and everything?
They just kind of sleep in their cot as a teacher, like between the circle time or whatever's next on the schedule.
If they need to sleep, they need to sleep. Yes. Okay. That's fair. They're 4 years old.
It's a full day preschool.
And at your old job, did they nap? Did they have a 2-hour nap time?
It was longer.
Yeah. What else? What have you noticed? Yeah.
I noticed that routine base is very strong in the kids. Like, obviously we're deep in the school year, so now they have their routine, and
Yes.
they even ask the teacher like, "Oh, are we gonna do this now?" And then they'll be like, "Oh yeah," because one time he had to alter the schedule a little bit, so he was like, "Oh yeah, we have to do it a little later." Then me and Sis like was telling them, and they're like, "Oh okay," because we usually go here in the right, and then it's just nice seeing.
That's great.
Yeah, like how they're very like Structure to the
Yeah.
routine and.
They know the routine, they know what to expect. Absolutely. Absolutely, that's great. Great. Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah.
So we have full day and we also have like AM and PM. With it being like Wednesday and we don't take them outdoors.
Right.
So I barely leave the classroom because they have like their snack time and their breakfast in the classroom. So when they go on like little like indoor field trips, when they see the cafeteria, they're like, ah, like, oh my gosh. And when they have their art in like the big art classroom, it's like, oh my gosh, it's a whole other world. And they love art. Just
That's
always
awesome.
looking.
That's awesome.
They're always asking, are you outside today?
Yeah, not this week. I don't think anyone else want to share something you noticed? Anyone? All right, well, I think I'm getting into that slowly but surely. All right, so today we're going to, and pardon me for not having that up. I think I'm going to be able to put my PowerPoint up in a moment. You are welcome to follow along. I think I'm getting. You are welcome to follow along on your laptop. I can't get in, but I think I can. We're going to talk about, like I said, we'll reflect on your preschool clinical experience. We'll practice reflecting, looking at one or two videos because that assignment is coming up as it's connected to infant toddler clinical hours. We're going to look at high quality environments and materials for infants and toddlers. And then I'm going to give you a little bit of time to look at your, get together with your group and brainstorm some ideas for your lesson plan. Next time we get together, I will give you time to work on your infant lesson plan, to work on it, you'll complete it, and you'll present it to the class. So that will pretty much be our time is completed. All right, let's see if I can get in. Cross your fingers. So, and one thing I just want to, no, stop letting me know. Hold on. I just want to, emphasize to all of you, please be aware that all of the infant toddler assignments are connected to infant toddler clinical hours. So it's important you get those assignments done, even if they're late, and that you put the hours in the watermark. Were you able to get into the watermark? You're welcome. So just be aware of that. Any questions for me? Yes. So, Sunday, yes, 7 hours, right. So there is a breakdown, and I will try to remind you every time. But for the gateways modules, you just did 7A, 7B, and 7C, 7 hours. You put that in watermark. You don't have to put in a lot of details, but put in, gateway 7A, 7, going in there. And then next week, when we're not together, you'll do 2A, 2B, and C. That focus more on health and safety. Okay. So, all right. So, other questions? Again, I'll say if you don't have to give it to me right this moment. But if you have your schedule for me to sign, and if your CT has already signed it, I'm happy to sign it today because they are due by Sunday. If you do not have it today, if you don't have it today, please get it this week because it's due Sunday, and then you can take a picture of it or something, scan it if you have that capability, and you can email it to me to sign it. And then it goes in watermark and it goes in the clinical site information form goes in as well. question? Only in D12, yeah, you don't have to put that in water. All right, I am having a great deal of problems here, ladies. So sorry. I will continue to try to get into this. Are there any other questions right now? Yes, please. Yeah, upload. If I didn't make that clear, I apologize. Upload the certificates and your reflection. No, just to D2L. Yeah, and watermark, you're just putting your hours. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah. Okay, other questions? All right, how about this? Why don't we? I am looking at the PowerPoint on here because I can't get there. All right, so let me say this with planning ahead. Because Nancy asked this before, once I have everybody's schedule, I'm gonna look at your schedules. And I'm gonna try to coordinate, observing hopefully 2 or 3 observations in a day, just so I can get them on my schedule. I will, when I find dates that work, and it'll come up in the next few weeks because they have to be done before spring break. Weird to think spring break is it's below 20 degrees with the wind chill today, right? I will email you with a date. I will give you ample notice, and you'll check with your CT, make sure the date and the time work, so we can coordinate it. Once we have a date and time, you should certainly find out from your CT what the theme, what the study is that week, so your lesson can align with what they're doing in the classroom. Work on your lesson plan. You should get it to your CT about a week before. Sometimes the CTs will say, looks great, thank you. And sometimes they might ask you to make a few changes. And you should send it to me in advance, 1 day to 2 days in advance, just so I can take a look at it. I also asked, I'll write my number up here. You can email me or you can text me 24 hours before the observation to confirm it. So please do that because you never know. Put my phone number on. You can send me a text. 847-8991. You can send me a quick text and just say, Mindy, it's Nancy. I'm confirming tomorrow at 10 a.m. That's all you have to say. I'll know what it's about. So please make sure you do that. And then, and this will be true for your infant and toddler lesson plans too. At the end of each lesson plan form, there's a place for reflection. I do not want you to reflect until after you implement the lesson. So I want you to implement the lesson and then think about what did I do as far as my teaching strategies go, what went well, what might I do differently, and what did the children learn, and how do I know? And for the infant and toddler lesson plan, you're just going to be presenting them in class. Same thing, because you'll get feedback from the rest of us, so you would reflect after that. Okay, questions about that? For who? Preschool. It depends what you're doing. Not long. Not long. That little.
Like a morning.
Yeah.
We get it. So it's like,
Yeah.
finding the right.
Right. So how long are the morning meetings? That sounds about right. And how does the centers work? Do they rotate?
First, it's like,
Sure. Sure.
They go to center.
Yeah.
Where there's like either free choice.
Yeah.
And you have either to do the sector or working with the community. So that it's I think they will have a meeting all the time.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out which.
So, you know, my recommendation, I'm not going to make this necessarily a hard and fast rule. But what I strongly suggest everybody do, and I don't care the order, that you do one large group activity, one large group lesson, and one small group lesson. Large group could be a morning meeting. It could be a read aloud, something like that. So large group, yeah, I think 15 minutes, 20 minutes is more than enough. It's preschool, it's preschool. Centers, let's say you're doing a small group, depends what you're doing. You know, it could be 5 minutes with a small group, it could be longer. And sometimes, depending on the routine of the classroom that you're in, sometimes children rotate, so you might get 3 or 4 kids for 7, and you might get 3 or 4 more, you know. And sometimes some teachers, I don't like all the children to do everything. I'm not saying that you should do that, but you have to find out what the teacher does. If that's the case, I would probably, if you're doing small groups for, let's say, 5 to 10 minutes, I would probably like to observe you do 2 groups at least, maybe 3, and then we would talk. Sometimes, like when I've been in Heather's classroom, depending on the activity, sometimes they all do the same thing. Like there's a large group time that the teacher does, and then they all go to tables and do some activity at the same time at the tables. That could be your lesson, where you would then be rotating around to the tables. But again, that could be 10 minutes, 15, 20. Longer does not mean better. Longer may often be inappropriate for preschool age children. Anyone else? What have you all observed in the classroom during large group time? How long is your typical, whether it's a morning meeting or a read aloud or something? What have you observed?
I'd say like 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. In my classroom or my where I'm observing, she likes to do like, we're more of a play-based center, so
Right.
there's like the teacher-led center and then like play where
That makes choice. So it's a balance of teacher directed and child directed. So, right, it depends. I mean, I have observed some great lessons, like games that I've had students have done that have been 5 minutes. So it just depends on what you're doing. But I do recommend, not requiring it, but I strongly recommend that you do a large group and a small group. I just think that's a good experience for everybody. If a large group is a little scary to you and you want to do that as your second lesson plan, whatever works for you as a teacher, whatever works for you. I'm still trying to get in here. Other question about that?
I mentioned, about setting up a Zoom.
With the teacher?
Is that for any of the lesson plans or?
Well, I mean, I emailed the teachers a couple of times and I have a couple of them set up, not many. It's optional. It's typically at the beginning of your experience, maybe after you're there 1 or 2 times, just to see if the teacher has any questions or if they want me to give an overview of the semester and what their responsibilities are. I have emailed the teachers, I think on 2 occasions about it. I have not gotten many responses, which is okay. I mean, they're busy, right? They're busy. So, and some of the teachers that I've worked with before, they're not. Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that because I have Miss Kathleen up here.
Oh, Kathleen Kelly.
Yeah, she was asking like, so do you want it or whatever you.
So, yeah. Unless if there's for some reason, if you want it, I'm fine with that. Yeah, I'm fine. I mean, I do have a good number of new teachers. And again, when I go there for the first lesson plan, I'm happy to review things with them too. It is important, especially for the new teachers, that they know that they can get to watermark. So make sure. So if you have already been putting your hours in watermark, I think I've said this before, it's worth saying again. Put your hours in every week. You should be earning hours every week. Put your hours in every week. If your cooperating teacher is not approving them every week, that's fine. But every 2 or 3 weeks, 3 weeks for sure they should be. So you might need to nudge them a little bit or online stuff. I actually got a list from the college not all the teachers have this, but the teachers have to put in their Illinois educator license number in Watermark, and a bunch of them have not yet done that, so I'm gonna. It's not, I mean, they have to do it, it's not. But yeah, if they want a meeting or you want a meeting, just let me know. But I have emailed them twice and I've only done. But they're busy, they're busy. Other questions? I'm still trying to log in here. Right, yeah. All right, so what? I to make it difficult to watch a video. Try. All right, so how about if everybody, let's all face each other and let's talk about your preschool clinicals, your work experience with preschools. Let's get together and talk about that. So this would be a good time if you could please close your laptops. And kind of turn into a sloppy circle facing each other.
Make the note over here.
Sorry.
Whoops, let me do that.
I give up. I give up. All right, so I think my questions are, and again, if you are not doing a clinical or haven't started it yet, but you're in a classroom in early childhood, what's one bright spot? And what's one thing you're curious about from your clinical classroom experience or anything else? Right, so yeah, go ahead. Thank you.
So I've been working with these kids like, oh yeah, it's just the classroom next to mine, so I
Right.
already know them, but they're younger than my classroom, so it's fun. Like listening to their conversations and how different they are, even though they're just like a year apart or 2 years, depending on the kid. It's just interesting to see like how they play with each other and all that. What I'm curious about is how they do potty training, because their
Okay.
classroom. So none of all my kids are potty trained, so I haven't had to deal with that.
Okay.
Like the occasional like pull up during that.
Sure,
but that's it.
Sure.
But her kids, like some of her kids are still potty training and stuff, and I've never really had to do potty training. So like that's something I think I want to watch a little bit more.
Yeah.
I know it's one of our trainings. They just talked about they start talking about potty training and everything. So it's just interesting. Like I wonder how this seems to be working what they're doing.
Right. So is this a younger group of threes? Or are they twos and threes or?
They are, her class is a mix.
Okay.
Of younger and older. It just depends on where they were developed.
Okay.
So I think they're younger threes.
Okay.
I don't
That makes
think she has
sense.
any 2-year-olds.
If potty training is a topic, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but she only has a couple that are still
Right.
potty training, but
Right.
it's just interesting.
Yeah, to see how they're doing it. Right. Yeah, well, I wonder if there's anything about that in the next gateway modules, right? To help safety too. Yeah, that's important. Yeah, that's good. Anything else? And so it's interesting because you can compare and contrast with your own classroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else I think is fun, so each classroom has like 2 teachers. Miss Christina, one of my close friends, she is a music major, so she like brings in her ukulele and like they sing like really fun songs all the time, and I love incorporating music. I'm just not as talented as she is.
Yeah.
So it sounds nice when it comes out of her mouth, but I just like I find that interesting too, how like kids really love music and it really like clicks with them, and how like you can really teach through music. So that's fun watching her do that.
Yes. Yes. You can teach through music. My old boss would say you can, in preschool, you can sing your way through the day. Yeah, it's a great way to transition. I don't know if I told you this before. I had a teacher, a 4-year-old classroom teacher at my old job. She was a former nurse. And she taught the kids there, I don't even think I knew this, there are 206 bones in the body. She had a song for the bones. And when you sing a song and you can name all these bones, you remember it. Right? You remember it. So there is power in music. That's great. And you don't have to be talented. You don't have to play an
No, my kids
instrument.
love when I sing, but
Yeah.
usually they tell me that I'm bad at singing.
Yes.
Like, you guys just wait.
Yes. I am also bad. Yeah, but that doesn't matter because, you know, it's fun to sing with them. So yeah, I think that's good. That's really nice. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. All right, who wants to go next? Oh, okay, I see a hand. You'll go and then you'll go. Yes.
For me, I just observing the classroom and how like she had structured it. It was nice seeing it because this is the first experience I'm like in the classroom.
Yeah.
And seeing all the high order thinking questions was nice too because
Wow.
I know that I was working on it. Literally the first day I'm like, okay, I'm engaging with some of the students because they're coming up here. So what are some questions I can ask them
Yeah,
that are not yes, no, all of that.
exactly.
And he has like a really good like set of like asking questions to his students.
Nice.
One thing I am curious is how he manages with students' behavior, just because they are little kids and sometimes they do bump heads. The first day I was there, I was really thrown into like dealing with the situation because I was just walking by and you had these three little boys together and they are saying like, oh, teacher, he said this, he said the bad word, like, and they're repeating the bad word, and I'm like, oh, let's not say the word. And then the other boy's like, I didn't say that, I didn't. And then like you just have them like kind of like all. And I noticed during each time I go in there, they're kind of sometimes always like rough playing, and I have to be like, oh, let's keep our hands to ours. But definitely seeing that the first time I was like, I don't know how to deal with the situation correctly. So I'm hoping I was like working with it. And then he came by and he also like was able to give pointers and like do
What did he say? Yeah, what did he say?
So he definitely was saying to keep their hands by themselves and that if they keep playing rough, they're going to have to separate from the center and they're going to leave the center. That like the center is gonna be put away and if they're not playing nice with the toys,
Yeah.
that like no one gets the toys. And I was just like, okay, because they weren't listening to me. Obviously, I'm like, oh, who are you? Why are you telling us?
They're like the substitute teacher.
Yeah. But thankfully now they've gotten like used to me, so now they listen to me. With the magnet tiles, I remember that they weren't supposed to have that out yet. And they just took it out, and I'm like, okay, let's put it back. That the first few days, yeah, the first few days, I'm like, put them away. The first few days they did not listen to me, and then on Friday they took out the magnet tiles, but this time it wasn't the center to use it. So then I was like, we have to put away the magnet tiles because we're not using them today. And they actually listened to me. I was like, oh my God, that's the first time they listened to me without Mr. Sword like stepping in. Because usually he has to step in for them to listen to me. Like, oh, and Miss Anna said, let's put them away. We're going to put them away. I was like, wow, you listen. So that was something that like I was more curious about how like he's able to like obviously have the
I think it's also hard in this preschool clinical, you're not there very much.
yeah.
You know, I think that's hard, that you're only there one morning or two morning or whatever a week. And it's not consistent, so I think that presents a challenge too, but
Yeah.
that's good. Are there a lot of boys in that class?
There is like I would say there's an equal amount like
Okay.
but
You were talking about the rough.
my class is blended, so sometimes there is situations where we have some of the kids like they're very emotional, so we have like a little tantrum here, and then there's other kids that are like, oh, why is he doing that? Like, and then we have to like readjust, like, you know, we have to breathe, we're gonna let him, and we have to share, and we do have to spend more time with some of the kids that do have to like manage their emotions.
Right, so that's a big, that social emotional learning is a big part of it, right?
Yeah.
And that regulation and calming down and expressing themselves appropriately, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Sounds like you've made progress in that area.
Yeah, I was pretty like proud when I first met it. I was like, oh my god, this is the first time I've seen
You
it.
probably thought you were like the one time thing, oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Right, exactly, right. Yeah, I mean, I do think it's hard when you're not there every day.
Yeah.
For that, and for you, but it's good. I think you're focusing on the teacher and the strategies that he's doing, and it sounds like he's taking the time to explain it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, because the first day he was just like, I'm gonna let you handle that. And I'm like, I'm not sure how to like first day. Yeah. But then like after I had finished like being able to separate it, he reinforced it because he saw that they weren't listening and he was like, yeah, like, sometimes they're very rough house them.
Yeah.
Like those 3 kids. That's it. The other times they're here in few incidents, but the kids are managing well. Like they'll be like, oh, here, fine, I'll sign up for it next. And they just grab their piece of paper and sign their name. So they're like really good. It's just those 3 little boys. They're always like when they're hyper, they're hyper. Little boys too. Strong personalities.
Right. Well, and I think, as a parent of young men who were boys at some point, it's and it's true for girls too, but we might see it more in boys. There is that rough and tumble play, which is okay. I mean, I think we have to look at what our tolerances are. And sometimes it starts to get out of control. So, when is it okay? When is it just healthy physical play? Because they do need to be physically active. And when is it escalating in the wrong direction? And sometimes, and I've talked with many teachers about this, like let's say the block area, that can often be an area that can get a little out of control. They have big wooden blocks, you don't want them throwing and hurting somebody. Sometimes I had a teacher the same teacher who I was just talking about. She had a very big classroom and she would, and she was a very quiet teacher. But if it would get a little bit too loud in the block area, she knew the direction, that the play was starting to deteriorate, but wasn't bad yet. All she would do is walk over. And sometimes all you have to do is, walk over and let those kids know. I'm trying to intimidate you. But, let those kids know without saying a word, I'm watching. I'm watching. I see what you're doing here. And sometimes when you walk over there, it's enough. You're new. You're new.
Actually, the first time I was there, the block area, there's these 2 girls like arguing a little, but I was just observing. So I'm walking by and then the girl looks at me like, here's the block. And I'm like, oh,
the power that you have. It's interesting what you were saying about the social emotional children, having a difficult time regulating themselves. It is February. So by now, these kids should know the routines like they did, like, you were talking about. It should be very predictable. They know the expectations. Everybody has a bad day. But that's something you've learned a lot.
yeah, it was nice.
Good.
I enjoyed it.
And you know what? It's all about classroom management.
Yeah.
It's all about classroom management. It really is. That's the most important thing. And how you can prevent problems from happening by keeping children engaged. Something to learning a lot. Okay, thank you. All right, let's see. I think you wanted to go next.
Something similar about the it's a 3-year-old preschool, they know their fun. So
Yeah.
then something curious was on Friday, American had a Valentine's Day dance for the 3-year-olds, and I was like, oh, it's not gonna go. But it was super cute. They had like bubbles and they were jumping around.
Cute.
So it was
Cute. So are they learning about planets? Is there a song they're singing about planets or no? They're
reading.
okay. Okay. All right. And it's a young freeze class? Yeah.
Yeah, that was like for 3-year-olds, but it was super cute. There, like, there was a bunch of classes. So like their parents went to and
Awesome. That's nice. All right. Who wants to share next? All right.
so I think I just wanna like have more practice like with management, that's.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In my class, is a quiet teacher, I guess, sometimes she talks even to people I can't hear, but the kids are like so quiet. Like when she's up there or she's transitioning, and they're just like sitting like quietly, and they're not, going crazy, so, I mean, I wanna have skill one day, to be able to have, control the class like that and manage that.
So she's calm.
Yeah.
And something like that is very contagious to the kid.
Yeah, I think that matters. She's
I
been
agree.
teaching, I think 18 years, and it's a really big school. It's like pre-K.
Mhm.
So like when they're walking in the hallway, and then you have like fifth graders, it's the size difference.
Oh, yeah. That's intimidating. Yeah. Who was the teacher again that you're with?
Miss Easy. Yeah.
What school?
Um,
I've been there. Trying to think, her name is familiar. Have I worked? I don't know. Okay. Yeah, well, that's good. That, I mean, and I do think that, calmness, enthusiasm, it could all be very contagious. And when we're excited about something that we're going to do with these kids, they'll be excited too. And when we can, and quietly, that's not how I operate. I'm not good at that, but it works. It really does work. And you're right, classroom management, it's an ongoing learning process. And I think every group of children that you would work with as a teacher, every year it's different. Right? So, yeah, but that's good. I think that's an important focus. Okay, next. Yeah.
I would like to see just so like but also they're such a good feedback.
Yeah.
It seems like like they even like the schedule, it was just a little sticker on it, probably the website or the app.
Yeah.
And they were like, they contacted, they're like, oh, we're not excited right now, we're going to meet them. So she like moved it. But there's such good routine, though, like the boundaries.
Yeah.
Like I guess she kind of like built that to be talked about.
Absolutely.
So it would have been nice to see like what tips and what strategies she used.
Right.
To get that's the
right.
Like she told them, okay guys, now we're doing on Saturday. Well, this would come here, we're working on this activity, this would go there, free choice, and so everything just kind of goes well.
Right.
I would like to see
right.
chaos, so you can like
right. Right. Well, in the fall, you do your next clinical, it'll be with kindergarten first or second grade, but it will be the beginning of the year. And you're shaking your head no. It's funny. I've had at the beginning of the year, when I teach this class in the fall, I have had some of the teachers say they don't want the students yet. Because they want the kids settled. And I would rather you be there. So just like you're saying, Tina, so you learn, right? So you learn, but it also sounds like, even though you're not saying that because the kids know the routine, it still sounds like your teacher is still explaining to them what to do. And that's really important. Like even when they're behaving the right way, not using that language or whatever, you still have to give those reminders and reinforcers, even when they know what's going on. Yeah. Yeah.
Like when they come back from recess, so she just reminds them of like classroom size, but at a level, like they have levels like zeros.
Right. Right.
1, 2, 3.
Right.
So it's that constant reminder.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's another, this was fascinating to me last semester, when I taught 327B. I had 6 students in 327B. So kindergarten, first, second grade classroom. Some of the classrooms were, but I'm saying a good noise, very noisy. But everybody was talking to each other, the students were doing their work, they were very engaged. I like noise. I'm one of those people, I'm one of those people as a teacher, as a student, I need noise in the background. That's why I said I liked working in a childcare center. If everybody was outside on the playground and I was working on my computer, I'd be like, oh, it's too quiet in here for me. Some of the classrooms that I was in last semester, very quiet. And the teachers, one teacher was very controlling of it too, like very fun. So my point in bringing that up to you is you have to learn what your tolerance level is, what you value, what you want your classroom to be like. And, you know, to me, and I'm oversimplifying it, but to me, if they're engaged, they're learning, and they're doing their work, you know, let's say there's a lot of group work, you know, with the older kids. You know, so what? You know, it depends on, again, what you like. And I think you have to be very aware of that. You also have to think about what's in the best interest of these students too. But it was so fascinating that semester because every classroom, students talked about the class, was so different. So, and one teacher, you know, she was, I hate to say it, but she was a bit of a yeller. And expected like barely. I was, you know, but and you know, certainly that's not. But you have to really think about that. What is, you know, it's kind of like with preschool and younger. What about getting messy? You know, what's your tolerance for messiness and, you know, paint and sand and sitting on the ground? You have to think about that. And then you have to think about what's right for you and what's best for these children in your classroom. And if you don't like, you know, I did a workshop a few months ago at a child care center on creativity, and it was a beautiful building, beautiful and perfect and spotless. I've never met, I had 50 people in the room with me. I've never met more neat freaks in my life who didn't like to let children paint or use Play-Doh or water play. Yeah, I know. And, you know, so we really had to, that's okay, you know, what your tolerance is, but you have to think about your personal self and your professional self and what's in the best interest of those kids. But they also worked for a place that expected them to keep those classrooms spot. Yeah, scared me too. You know. But you do have to think about that. And yeah, I agree. Beginning of the year is, I do think of how much you would learn. Yeah, think of how much you would learn. But yeah, a lot of teachers don't, you know, they don't want you. They want to get everything under control. And, you know, going back to what you were talking about, you have to bring in that social emotional component too, because with preschool, even kindergarten, kids are going to go through separation issues too. So how do you deal?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would have loved to see how he worked in the beginning of the school year.
Ask for teachers.
Because they don't use the sandbox, but he allows them to use paint and like Play-Doh. But they're really good at, like, when they play with paint, they're really good at, like, if they know they have like paint all over their hands, they're like, okay, I'm gonna go wash my hands. And I'm just like, oh, we didn't even have to remind you. Some of them, yes, but some of them, they're just like,
Right.
oh,
They know
wash
what
our
to
hands.
do. Right.
And then,
right.
I just found it amazing because every time they come in, they say good morning, they go wash their hands, and they eat breakfast. And I'm
They
just
know
like,
the routine.
whoa, like these are.
I know.
And they're super like, some of them are super like clean freaks. Like they'll be like, I need to wash my hands. And I'm like, okay.
Which is good. You want that, especially with all the bad germs going around right now and all that. Yeah, but it's amazing how they do learn that routine when it's consistent and when it's predictable. Yeah, yeah. All right, next, you want to share something from your class?
For the first 2 weeks with the older preschoolers, they do the whole routine, like the classroom management, like they know about academics at all.
Yes.
Teach them, like, you know,
Right.
kind of like structure in a sense, like, oh, you know, this is why you had to be quiet in the hallway.
Right.
And everything is visuals because, yeah, you can say it, but you're like with a 4-year-old, you need a visual with a 4-year-old.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
you can say it and then just get like, okay. And also like go run off and like, that's not it. Also, with the whole blended learning, the emotions, the regulation, they're doing their early intervention for like autism ADHD, like, we had a little boy in kindergarten who was just running around the room and he was like, circle time, all of a sudden, we're across the room flying, like, Geronimo! And we're just like, what is he doing?
Yeah.
Turns out he has severe ADHD in first grade. We're like, oh, okay, that's fine. So, but with CPS, you have to have data like consecutively for 10 days. If the child's absent, then you have to start the data process all over again.
I did not know that.
It takes quite some time for a child to feel like their IEP.
I didn't know that.
Ours is hard for that too, like, we have a couple kids, we try to catch them earlier, so we have a kid, I think he's only like 2, but he has, like, you can tell, like, probably has autism.
Yeah.
So you try to get him tested, but since we're just a center, that's a parent thing, the parents have to do that. The only problem is, he lives out of district. So the parents would have to take them out to go get tested. If he lived in district, we could have had someone from district come in.
Oh, would they come in?
tested. Yeah, so there, some of the programs by us, like, they'll come in and they'll observe, but if they don't live in our district, then they have to go and get him tested. So he lives out of district, and so they, like, it's hard. And they're like, you don't have time for that, and like, blah, blah, blah. That always drives me nuts, though. It's
Yeah.
like, what do you mean you don't have time? I'm like,
Yeah.
he would be doing so much better if he just had this, like, extra help.
Yeah.
Or like, if he went
Right.
somewhere, like, in the afternoon. And
Sure.
So, but yeah, it's interesting.
So, yeah. All right, so as you said that, you reminded me another thing with the beginning of the year. In preschool, for sure, and in kindergarten, I would say, sometimes first grade. There may be children that come to your classroom for the first time that you have concerns about. And there is a process, whether you're in a public school setting or in child care, or your private, public, there is a process that you have to go through, which is not a perfect process. Like this, so at CPS, they also have, you have to do all these assessments, and in Head Start programs, early Head Start, within the first 45 days. So you do all these screening tools and assessment tools. And if you determine from those tools if there is a red flag, you would recommend to the family to get further evaluation. The family can say no.
Yeah.
The family can say no. I also, people that I know who work at CPS, who have put in the paperwork to get children evaluated, there's laws, they have to, once the parent consent, even in anywhere, is done. I think the law is they should be evaluated within 60 days, I think is the law. But I have a friend who works for CPS in pre-K, who has complained that she's had children in her classroom for months and months and months, and they have not. The other piece of it is, and I think it's true even in a public school setting. My biggest challenge as a director has been working with families to get children evaluated when we had a concern. It would often take, I'm sorry to tell you this, a year to get them. Now, we had infants, toddlers, too. 5. It would often take 6 months to a year. And it's really, a lot of it is about building relationships with the family, and when the family is ready. It's hard. It's hard.
A lot of families think that their child will have it.
Or they just like don't think,
And sometimes say, what's that?
or they just don't think they like, just like the denial thing, especially if they're like older parents.
Yeah.
Like now it's more socially okay to have a kid who has needs, but like before, like it depends on how the parents are raised too. Like if they were raised that needs, like having needs is not necessarily like the best thing, then like it's hard. Like when
And
I
you don't know, you don't
Yeah.
know.
they don't like understand the severity of it because I was saying this like 2 weeks ago about my friend. She did all the IEP. She went to like her school principal like and emails after emails and
Yeah.
like making sure to advocate for one of her students because it's like, and she said that she can't self-regulate emotions, and throughout the whole day, the preschooler is crying and screaming, and she's not potty trained, so
Yeah.
she and in the school, in that school, they're not allowed to change diapers.
Yeah.
So she's in her pee all day. Even if they call mom will come to change her. And she said that like she did so like much emailing that they finally were able to like screen and assess and everything. And then they had her placed somewhere. And the mom kept pushing back, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take her soon. Oh no, I'm gonna take her. And then my friend, she had to email the mom and say like, hey, the last day to put your child in this school is on Friday. Like it's approaching. Have you?
Yeah.
And then mom's like, oh, that she said that the mom would just laugh and she'll be like, I'm gonna get on it soon. And it passed. Her deadline passed, and she's still in the classroom. And she said that she got really emotional because she's like that she sets up activities to try to help the preschooler, but she's like, but obviously she was like, yeah, she's like, I don't have my sped, like
Right.
I'm not there. I'm trying to figure out what to do, but I'm not like specialized in it.
Right.
And then
Exactly.
she literally was like broken about it because she was like, and I'm so sad that the parent had the opportunity to give her daughter better resources and support, and she didn't. And so she was crying to me, and I felt so bad for her because it's like she's like, I really want, like she's like, I want to give her the best support, and I feel like me as a teacher, I'm doing as much as I can,
Right.
but I don't know other tools and other things to put in my classroom for her. And I just felt bad. I was just there like, I'm sorry that that's happening to you, especially because it's like it is a long process. It's a lengthy process.
It's a lengthy process.
So yeah.
Well, I mean, if you put yourself in the shoes of parents, we want the best for our children, and we think our children are great.
Right.
And I think it's hard. I think it's really hard to get there. And that's why, you have to meet the parents where they are and build that relationship with them and keep, not hit them over the head, but keep talking to them. And also, when you use, CPS uses several, but when you use some screening tools like the ages and stages questionnaire, are you learning that in Dr. Mushi's class? About ages and stages? No, what's that?
Not yet.
Well, I'm gonna do something in here too. But if you use a tool like ages and stages, and you determine from using that tool that the child needs further evaluation, that is also a very objective way to talk to the parents about it. But it's hard. It's hard. But your friends should not give up. And I think it's really great that your friend recognizes that that is not her area of expertise and that she's limited, because we can't label, we can't look at a kid and say, oh, I think that kid has, oh, I think that kid has ADHD. We might have that hunch, we might have that hunch, but that is not our area of expertise. So I think it's really good that she recognizes what her limitations.
Yeah, I mean, I was offering help. I mean, I'm like, I'm not a teacher, but I mean, like, I can help research, like, what are some, like, activities you can do with the child. But, she was just talking to me about how, like, she's just figuring out ways to, because, the child does scream if, like, the routine is not in place.
Yeah.
So if something small switches, she'll start screaming. So
Right.
she's like, I'm trying to figure out what's the best routine, and
Right.
yeah, so I was like, sorry, I'm not.
Well, and and sometimes, and I don't know if she's done this, it's just saying to the parents, hey, we're having a hard time with your child when this happens. What do you do at home?
Yeah.
What do you do? What works at home? But it's a process, and I'm sorry to say, but it's taken me in many situations up to a year to get families to. And I've had some families that I've met with, with my teachers, and no, I don't want my child labeled, and no, grow out of it or whatever. And then I'll sit down with them again, whatever, it could be the third time, it could be the fifth or sixth time, and we'll sit down. And I won't say a word, and they'll say, okay, we're ready. It's hard. So, but that's the other thing, at the beginning of the year, you might get kids in this room that the teachers have some concern about, and not getting the help they need. Yeah. It depends where you work. So CPS, they have many, I didn't know about the 10 days in a row. That's crazy.
Because it has to collect data like if they're fitting, dressing. They have like different spreadsheets.
Right. But CPS uses tons, I should say tons, many screening and assessment tools during the first 45 days. And for CPS, that's how they will determine what next steps are. And next steps, if they see a red flag, that's when they would talk with the family. But again, the family can say no.
Yeah, there have that many times
The
the
family
family
can say no. And then I'm going to answer your question a little bit more, but I want to go back to something you said, where I worked in Skokie and in Deerfield. Nobody ever came to our center from the school district
Really?
to screen children. We would send them.
Yeah,
We would send them out. So being that that family lives out of district, I don't think that is a barrier.
yeah, I don't know. So my kids usually, by the time they get to me, if they needed assessments, they already have had that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So usually this happens in the younger group, so this is now happening, and I'm not in there,
Right.
but I've seen like people like they either get someone to come here, or like the parents get someone to evaluate their kid.
Right.
They do, like some of them do come to
Yeah.
us, yeah.
That's pretty good, but
Yeah.
yeah, because I did not. But it doesn't matter. You know,
So you have to do it.
you can call the school district, get parent permission, but you can call the school district and say, hey, there's this kid we have some concerns about, and we, you know, screen it, but the parent really has to do it. So Fatima, back to your question, it depends on where you're working. If you're working in a private school or somewhere other than CPS or a childcare setting, you really want to find out what the procedure is there. For some programs, it might just be like, I think what Justine was talking about, taking notes, you know, checklists and notes. If the program you're working in uses the ASQ or the early screening inventory or another tool, then they should be using that. A lot of programs, if they're not required to use those tools, they don't. Does your program use any?
I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
I find, like, for me, if I had a concern about a kid, I'd probably take notes for
Yeah.
like a week or two,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
bring it up to my director.
Right, right. So sometimes that note-taking documentation, you know, objective documentation is a place to begin and begin having those conversations with families, you know, again. You know, also, I think it's important from the first time you meet families, you want to build relationships with them and you want to build a partnership with them. So if you have to have a difficult conversation, you have that. Because it's not easy. What about where you work? Are there any tools they use? Do you know? Like. Yeah, no, yeah, notes are effective, you know, just as long as they're objective. Yeah. You wanna share next?
Well, I'm with the topic,
Right.
but so, because you know, our daycare is like a 2 classroom daycare, so it's like the wall, and then I could see the other classroom. So like, I'm starting the observation thing. Well, what I have noticed is that there is a girl that her mom like had, yes, but her mom said that the doctor can't know or like test her.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but what I have seen are like any little things, like any little change, like sleeping, like can something on.
Yeah. How old? A preschool.
No.
Okay. Okay.
See how that.
Oh, right, when you're.
ADHD is the hard one. Cause
It is.
like every kid, like that's just how kids act, so they really do have to wait a little bit and see, but there are differences in between like energy and then.
Yeah.
Like.
There is some issue where, like, I've seen her, she's not with any of those, but then she has.
Okay. Right, so if there's times of day that go very well, you know, if I were the teacher in that classroom, I would try to build on that. You know, oh, she does really well during this time of day, or she does really well during these activities. So how do you build on that? You know, is it just a social emotional regulation thing where over time, as development continues to unfold, it gets better, or is it a red flag where there should be further? And some, you know, some you don't know what these young kids. You know, I mean, it's time, but it's note taking and all of those.
Someone has been saying, yeah. Well, she had asked us to like let her know for things happening. That was
Okay,
It's nice that she like.
Yeah.
recognizes it, and she's still
does,
pushing
yeah.
for it.
right. Right. And, you know, is there something else going on too? You know, I mean, kids, I think all of us, you know, since COVID and beyond, people are hurt. I've never seen more young children or heard about more young children that have stress, like really undue stress. Stress causes. Hard to say. A lot of things for us. There's so much.
Sometimes I like sit down and I'm like, it's
Yeah.
a hard job and like no one knows. Like I sit and I like
Got
rant- I rant to my boyfriend about it like all the time and I'm like, and then I sit down and I'm like, what is happening? I'm like, there's so much. Like on my way to school, I had a parent texting me about because their kid told her that another kid like touched her inappropriately.
Right.
And then that blew up into, and I was aware that it happened because like I was there and I addressed the problem and I fixed it and it wasn't on purpose. Like they were just play fighting and
Sure.
then I had to move wherever it wasn't supposed to. But like it's just like so much. Like that's just a small instance when there's like these other things that are just so big and it's like no one knows. Like people all the time, like, they're like, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, preschool teacher. Oh, so you just play with kids all day?
Yeah.
Literally.
I'm
They
like,
have no idea. So I never talk to that person again. I'm like, I'd love to see you try for an hour.
That's right.
I'm like,
That's
but
right.
it's so interesting. Like I love it. Like it's like passion. So it's interesting, but it's like so hard. Like I sit here and I'm like, in this situation, what do I do? And then you have like parents that are reactive. So like their kid might need help, but how do I even address their parents that way? Because I know for a fact their parents aren't going to take that well. And then my director's going to take their side and I'm going to be sitting there like, I'm just trying to help your kid. So it's like, it's hard. It's like a battle.
It's
all the
hard.
time.
It's hard. You know what? The longer I'm in this field, the more complicated I think it is.
It's
hard.
crazy. People think that you're just like babysitting and playing with the kids.
I
Like
have no idea.
I stated, oh, I'm starting my first clinical, and then like, oh, I didn't get to play with like little kids. I'm like, it is not playing. I'm like, I went there for 3 hours, and I'm like, just 3 hours. I know what's happening. Oh, like sometimes they have a lot of energy, and I'm like, it is starting 8 o'clock, fresh out, and then there's. And I was like, I know, I'm just like, I don't know how. They come in like that. They walk the door and they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay. Especially because, so I am in a blended class and it's social emotional some of
Yeah.
And this one, student, she does have like really emotional connections to beings. So she'll create beings and this could be out of magnet tiles or blocks and she'll say, this is my mom. And then we have to remind her, this isn't your mom. Like cause she won't share the blocks at all. And so all the other kids are like, well, we'll pick the center too, because it's 4 students at a time in one center. And we have to like talk to her about how like, oh, this isn't your mom. We have to share. And I'm watching the like teachers, because there's also a sped teacher who's in my classroom. And I see how she's handling the situation, but sometimes it doesn't go as planned. And you have to take them out to the hallway to like, and I'm just like, like this is happening early in the morning, and it's just like it's not playing. It's literally you're dealing with like tiny little minds and how their emotions and everything. So yeah, I was like, it's don't get me wrong, I love it, but it's just like
It's hard.
and it's like I talked my boyfriend, he's a coach, so he's not a teacher, but he just like volunteers his time for coaching like basketball, and he's struggling a lot with these kids. So I look at him and like it's just a taxing job, like because a teacher like you have to, for me at least when I look at it, it's like if my kid doesn't know how to do something, whose fault is that? Like that's my fault. Like it's my job to now like draw my attention to that and like see why do they not know that and what can I do to fix it.
Those are good questions.
Yeah, so it's like in my head, it's like this is my job. Like they're here to learn, and if they don't know their ABCs, why don't they know their ABCs? And it's my job to fix that. And I tell them all the time, I'm like, your kids aren't paying attention and they're not listening to you, but like why? Like now you need to self-reflect, see like what you're doing and you're teaching. It's very self-reflective, and it's hard for people to self-reflect like that,
Yes.
especially in that state. But like you're here for the kids.
Yeah.
Like you can't give up on them just because they're not listening to you. And he like said, oh, this gets me too. Like he's always like, well, you can't teach kids that don't want to learn. And I disagree with that.
So
It's hard to find the motivation for kids,
Right.
but like there's
And
middle school teachers out there, like come on. That's a group of kids that
if there's something they don't want to look, I agree, I totally agree with you. We have to be self-reflective. And, I already said classroom management is so important. Engaging these kids is important. And, and going back to the social emotional, ABCs, that's kind of boring. It's kind of boring. But they have to learn these lifelong skills. Should they learn pre-reading skills and pre-writing skills? Yes, it's all foundational. And if it's not that they don't want to learn, what as we self-reflect, what can we do to change what we're doing so they want to learn?
Yeah.
I used to say to the parents, I work, parents would say, oh, when my kid goes to kindergarten, I want my kid to be able to do this and do that and do that. And I would say, my goal is when your children leave us to go to kindergarten, they love learning and they love going to school. And we need to teach these lifelong skills and that social emotional piece. And, learning in preschool, letter recognition is important. It's a basic skill, but it's also, let's go beyond what do letters mean? What does a printed word mean? And that's what we want to learn. And if they're not learning, it's not that they don't want to learn. It's what can we do to change it so they're learning. And if some lessons are boring. Some lessons, I'm not saying what but some lessons
like
are
a
boring.
subject.
You have a group time. I've seen group times that are 45 minutes long that I'm ready to fall asleep. Imagine how a 3 or 4-year-old is feeling. I'm dying. I can't wait till it's over. Imagine how a 3 or 4-year-old is feeling. So what can we do to make it relevant and meaningful and engaging for these kids? We've got to engage these kids. We've got to engage these kids. And we have to be creative. And I know you're with Dr. Maldonado doing all those fun math and science things. There are creative ways to teach these really important concepts. Besides just, what letter is this? What number is this? What shape is this? I'm boring. But yeah, you're right. It's all about self-reflection. And if you're not reaching a child, for you to be able to step outside and recognize that is powerful. It's good. You're thinking a lot, right?
Too much.
Do you not sleep well at night? I know I don't. I know. I think about things. Yeah. Right.
I don't tell my gray hairs about it.
That's why you got a gray hair. It's just beginning.
They're like coming in like nonstop right now. I'm always thinking like, okay, what can I do? What did I have to do? But yeah, anyway. I know, I messed up. I did something. But no, yeah.
It's stressful. It's hard work. It's great work. It's great work.
Kind of fun.
And yeah,
Self-reflecting, and then you get to like, what kind of fun games can I like?
and isn't it nice when you do something and you can reflect and say, wow, that worked. I really got them engaged and they were really excited about learning about prayer.
Even now, because my teacher, he was like planning this lesson, and we were doing it, and it didn't turn out at all how he wanted it,
Right.
and we just looked at each other, and he was like, well, you know, it's a learning lesson, and I was like, yeah, like, because the kids were just like, so he wanted for Valentine's Day, he was trying to show them to use their thumb to make a heart, and the next thing you notice, there's kids just like, and then we're like, he was like, okay, and then they're like, Mr. Sword, I don't know how to do it. And I was just starting to laugh because they were playing with the paint and they were
Right.
just having fun.
Right.
And then,
Right.
so then he just let them play
Right.
with the paint.
Sometimes it doesn't work. I mean,
Yeah.
I haven't met a team that I like them already. You know, I mean, sometimes your lesson doesn't work.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I've said to many teachers that have been beating them, you know, I'll go in for an observation, teachers, students. And, I wanted to do it this way and it didn't work out. And I would say to teachers, guess what? Don't beat yourself up. Because you have to recognize when something doesn't.
Yeah.
And let it go.
Yeah. It was really nice seeing him. I mean, he didn't get frustrated at all. He was
Good.
just like, yeah, like he liked it. He was like, yeah, you know, sometimes it just goes like that.
And, you know, which reminds me, you have to have a sense of humor. You have to be able to laugh. Because, you know, this is hard, but yeah, but that's good. And isn't it good for you to see an experienced teacher do something that did not work?
Yeah, I mean, it was nice. Yeah, because I mean, like the first few times I was in his lessons, I'm like, oh wow, like you have everything. And then this is the first time where he was showing me and it didn't work out. And he was like, sometimes it doesn't work out. And then he's like, well, I learned a new thing that doesn't
Exactly.
work. And I was like, oh, that's like really nice how he took it because he didn't get mad.
Yeah.
He didn't get mad that they were playing with the
Yeah.
paint all like
Yeah.
crazy. And
Yeah.
he was just like, well, I'm just gonna let them play with the paint. Like,
Yeah. Good.
yeah. So.
Good. You know, and that is my hope for all of you, that you can be with a cooperating teacher in a classroom where you can feel safe and you can feel secure and try things out. And if you make a mistake, so what? You know, learn from it. Or if it doesn't turn out, you know, it's like you have in your head, I'm gonna do it. And then it doesn't work out that way. That's okay. You know, learn from it. That's it. I'm looking forward to meeting. All right, I think we still have a couple of people to hear from. You want to share?
Oh, this is my.
Where are you? Okay,
Hmm.
okay.
It's been really interesting going from Montessori environment to like this, Montessori class second. So two teachers me and have students.
Oh, really?
There's four. Do you think it's such a crowded classroom? Yes. That's what I thought too, when I first came.
Yeah.
But the more that I observe, the more that I see them. They really just seem so beautifully, they each have, they know what they're doing. And they're, even if the kids are calm, they're always really calm.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, so what can you pinpoint any strategies that you've seen any of the teachers use that are successful?
And I think it's really respect them.
Yeah.
And trust them.
That's
and
important.
and help them.
That's important. Those are great qualities. Yeah, a few of you are weird, but I've never worked with your teacher. Yeah, I bet it is interesting to compare and contrast it to the Montessori class. Any similarities you see between the two? No? That's good. I think that'll be a good learning experience for you. That's great. All right, and I think Mandy.
For me, I've been there for 3 days.
Okay,
1 day last week and 2 days the previous week. The first week, Miss Heather wasn't there the whole week.
Okay.
So the other teacher, Lucia, was there. Um, when I was there, she kind of thought I was just there to help, not really a clinical student. So one of the days on Friday, she accidentally left me in the classroom.
oops.
And then the director of the daycare had to come and tell her, I'm not working, I'm a
Right.
clinical student. She kind of told her on that Tuesday, I am a clinical student.
Yeah.
But she kind of forgot because on Tuesday there's only 10, and then that Friday there was 11 kids, so they needed an extra teacher
Right,
for that
right,
extra kid.
because they're licensed, so more than 10 children, you need another.
Yeah, and last Friday it was Miss Heather, and the other teacher wasn't there, so last Friday was Miss Heather. The Fridays are similar in the format. They did a show and tell. There was a free play, and it was similar. But since last Friday was like Valentine's Day, um, they were having Valentine's activities. They had free play until like their circle time, and then during their circle time, they did read a book and did a little bit of their morning routine for the circle time. And then they did their show and tell, like how they do on their Fridays. They do show and
Sure.
tell. That Friday was the letter R. Yeah, the letter R, and it was they brought the stuff related to the letter R, and then after that they had to pass out their little Valentine's Day goodies. And then one of the kids, I think around that time, had asked, "Are we gonna have a second free play?" Yeah. Yeah.
So they know the routine.
Yeah, one of the kids. For me, for that classroom, I have their younger sibling in the toddler side, and the classrooms across from each other.
Good, okay, all right, so, yeah, so when Heather's, when the teacher's not there, right, it's a little discombobulating. It, it throws everybody off the routine, and she didn't know.
Yeah, she kind of knew, but didn't really know.
Right, right, and that's, so you shouldn't be left alone in the room, but that sounds like a very honest step.
Yeah, she kind of knew on that first day, but the next that came on Tuesday, and then on Friday that week, on Friday she kind of forgot I was just there to be a clinical. I'm not working at that
Right.
time.
Right.
Then she just went to the restroom and left me in the classroom. So the director was still in the hallway for the picking up in
Yeah,
the
the
morning.
director there knows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was in the hallway, so like when she saw she went to the restroom, she came and looked at the classroom. Yeah, at that Friday.
Well, that's,
Yeah.
She knew what was going on.
Yeah.
So so it sounds like the kids know their routine pretty well. Anything you picked up about that from Heather or something?
Their classroom compared to the toddler, I'm in the toddler classroom, we're across from them. Main we changed our gym time or like outside time to later. Recently, they're since their free play or like their gym time or outside play is later, they're more like calm during the later time. Before it was like 9:30. The way they're more calm in the after like the midday after their free play in the gym.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense. That's why they need that physical activity, right? Or outdoor time. I mean, this week, I don't think anyone's gonna be able to go outside. But that's why they need physical activity and outdoor time, because, recess, for those older children, it makes a difference. Yeah, okay. All right, any other, that was good. That was a good, conversation. A lot of topics came up in that, and a lot of, this is hard work. It's good work. It's really good work. But it's complicated. It's complicated. It's always something, we have to think about how are we meeting the needs, the social, emotional, and the academic needs of all of these children.
When I was there on Friday, I was kind of comparing it to my previous clinical.
Yeah.
I did in elementary school in the TESOL one for
Yeah.
TESOL.
Yeah.
It was a second grade classroom. There was another teacher there, but like I think she was a special ed teacher helper. She was not there for the full day. She was like half the day during the lunchtime. I was kind of seeing similarity in some ways with
Yeah.
that too, in
Yeah,
the CPS.
and when you have that opportunity to see the similarities. in it.
Yeah.
Right, and every teacher has their own style, right? Every teacher has their own philosophy. You know, I talked about, you know, your own feelings about noise level and messiness, and this is your opportunity to really start developing, you know, what kind of teacher you want, and what your philosophy is. And then I think always evolves. All right, I'm gonna try one more time. This is really annoyed me. I'm gonna try one more. So if you want to stretch, anyone want to take a stretch break? I've got some snacks up here if anyone is interested. And I'm gonna try this one more time.
Right, and also on Friday, I led the meeting.
Oh, you
After-
did?
after
Wow,
you-
you're really jumping in.
I
Well,
know.
everything started, like the lesson plan started.
He was like, "Oh, I'm going to a meeting. The speaker will be here, and there's the substitute because the sped teacher wasn't there." And he was like, "You know, like I'm just gonna be out for 15 minutes." And then the active video they like finished, and like he just like threw me in there. So then the kids were like, "Where's Mr. Sword?" And they were gonna start like replaying the video. So I had to go up there and pause, and I'm like, "Okay, guys." And then I had to think of questions about the video because I was watching the video too, and then I was like, "Oh my gosh." And then I remembered all their names, and I was like, "Yeah, let's go." I was like, and they were actually listening. I was like, "Thank you so much."
He's really getting you to jump in.
Yeah, he is. It's really nice now that like the first few times I was just observing, but now he's just like, "Yeah, like go ahead, talk to them." And I'm just like, "Wow, they're listening."
All right. I'm gonna try this.
I always.
You're welcome to stretch your legs now as I continue to. This, but I keep doing the same thing. Yeah. All right, so what we're gonna do now, thanks everybody, that was really a lovely conversation, and as I think Julia summed up for us at the end, it's really important. You didn't tell us about your dad and your tattoo. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, in your other class?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was disappointed.
Oh.
So my whole house had COVID. So I was like my distance. Like I was couch surfing either at my grandparents' house or at like my boyfriend's house. And so, but I came home that day and I just like grabbed some stuff and I was like, Dad, like jokingly, I was like, I'm gonna disappoint you again. He's like, I showed him and he was immediate straight face. Oh my god. I've never seen my dad so disappointed. He was like, congratulations. He's like, you should probably go before you catch something. I was like, I'm just so relieved. So, but it's okay. Like, I'm not shocked or anything. He's just like disappointed. But anyway, because I showed it again yesterday because my mom was like, "Oh, yeah, he's healed," and I showed it. He didn't say anything, but he didn't like seem as disappointed as he was.
All right, so he's dealing with it.
Yeah.
He is dealing with it. All right.
One day, I'm gonna get. Me and my dad are gonna get mad. I'm on it. Guys, updated on that.
So funny, my dad's like so against tattoos, right? And as he was younger, he has like 2 tattoos, and I'm like, "You have some, so it doesn't matter if I have some." No, I don't like them anymore. He got a tattoo with his girlfriend like a few like months ago, and I'm like, "What happened to the whole?" I don't
It
like.
was like my mom was the same way, and then all of a sudden she came home with a tattoo. 6 months. I was 45 when I got mine, so it was It's not like it means nothing. That's the thing. It's not like I got like a piece of junk on my arm.
It's just funny though, because I'm like, You over here complaining about my tattoos, and my tattoos have meaning. I'm like, you're gonna match a tattoo with your girlfriend when you have told me multiple times, don't get a matching tattoo. Yeah, I think so match. Go match with a significant other. And I'm like, you did me. Like, okay, whatever. That is not that.
Alright, I didn't have to give up.
You know, like the fish hook, he calls it
Waster.
if they come together. Like, that's cheese, bro. That's so cheesy. Bro, I don't ever do it. It's like they go this- Yeah, literally, I'm like, okay, well, I'm ready. I'm like, you better stay with that girl. I'm sorry.
Not really.
I don't even know about that.
Alright, so. I missed that. Alright, so this is not. Not that can be so. Let me, we're a small group. I might need everybody to get a little, I'm just gonna have to show you my computer here. Let me see, let me wait. So what I'd like to do is, I want to show you, I'll show you maybe one video later. I'll show you one video, talk a little bit about infant toddler environments, put you in your groups, and all you have to do is decide, I said younger infant or older infant, infant lesson plans, and maybe brainstorm what you want to do. I should wait for you to get back. You don't have to go out and buy anything for this, for your lesson plan. You can just tell us about it. If you work in a center where you can borrow something, if you want to bring it in, you can. I have some toys in my office here, and I took pictures of them if anybody wants to use them, so I'll show those to you all when you're in your room. So let me wait for, come back, coming back now. So let me try this on my laptop. Let's see if it's loud enough that you can actually hear it. If it's not, we'll just move on. So I'm going to show you a video. So if you remember, part of your infant toddler clinical hours is you'll be watching 4 sets of videos, an infant video and a toddler video. They're short videos, they're 2, 3, 5-minute videos. And then you write a reflection for each one. So here's some guiding questions. You're welcome to follow along. I'm sorry I'm doing it this way. I'm going to figure this out by the time we're together next time. But when you watch the videos, you know, what are the 3 most important things that you took away? What you want to do, part of reflecting, right? What does the teacher do, if anything, to promote learning? What does the child or children do to demonstrate their learning? So what did they actually do? What suggestions do you have, if anything, for the teacher? And how will you apply that learning to your work with children? And anyway, and what unanswered questions do you have? All right, so let me see if I can put on video. It's not loud enough. Let's put on. Sorry. Love technology.
I don't even know.
I figured it out. If it's not loud enough. So can everyone see or kind of see? Let's see if it's loud enough. Well, let's see if it's loud enough. Still go? Oh.
found a lot of books. You want to see what is inside the book. Open this on the copies. To place all the books. You want to have the taste of all the books. Okay, you still want the copy books. Okay, let's look at it too. You have so many books to look at. Last one. One that. Okay, should I read that? Okay, let's see. My face. This one's on the bottom. My face. Oh, look at the different faces. That's see this face. That's his face. That's his cheek. That's his cheek. That's his face. That's his mouth. Do you still want to test? Check the books. I want to get some books. It's one book. Anyone when you want to read. You want to read that. Children to the stars. Look at the book. That's it. Look at the book. You want to get another one. Go ahead. Ball. That's a purple ball. To the ball or something. Who was in it? I see you stick your finger in the hole. This is the spiral ball. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so what did the teacher do? Yeah, she was engaged. How was she engaged? What was she doing?
She was talking with the baby to the baby about the book. She noticed when the baby was not interested in the book, she was done with the ball.
What else? What else? I saw some hands.
Conversating.
I saw, yeah.
She was like giving affirmatives to the baby, like, oh, go get the ball, go. Like, you, so it's allowing the baby to be like, oh, okay, like, what's a ball? Like, okay, this is a ball. Her, like, talking throughout every action the baby doing is helping with the language.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, right, especially, and it's true with preschoolers too, but especially with infants, nonverbal, they still are communicating, and toddlers. When we narrate what we're doing or what they're doing, like you described, that's very powerful. It puts meaning to their actions and they're learning words. Yeah. What else did you see the teacher do with it? What about the baby? What did the baby do? Yeah, sensory, right. What else?
I mean, I would think that the baby was understanding the teacher because like, oh, you want that book? The baby's like, yeah, you're getting it. Like,
So there was back and forth communication going on there. Because this teacher, this caregiver, was having meaningful communications with the baby and really paying attention, taking the cues from this infant. That's what you have to do. You have to kind of go with, you have to be intentional and go with the flow, especially infants and toddlers. And when you're describing what they're doing and having that back and forth, that's very powerful. And there's a lot of learning. So any suggestions you might have for the teacher? You don't have to. You don't have to. So some of the videos, so that's just a sample of one video. Some of the videos that you're going to look at, you'll see a lot of teacher interaction. Some you may not. I know a couple of them. A couple of them, you'll see more narration where teachers are talking about what they're, what they do in the classroom. But, see what you can get out of it as far as, again, I think the big questions to focus on, what is a teacher doing to teach, and what are children doing? Are they learning? Yes. How do you know they're learning? What are they doing? So that's just a sample of a video. So there's 4 sets of video reflections, 4 assignments, one infant, 1 toddler, and you earn, even if you will earn for each video, and your reflection 2 hours. So for each assignment, it would be 4 hours because you're watching an infant video and toddler. Does that make sense? Questions about that? How's this going? Yeah, you're welcome to, yeah, go ahead. Am I going to send what? There are videos in D2L. There's a bunch of videos in D2L. You can choose whichever ones of those you want. And if there's other videos that you want to view, or, honestly, if you're working, you only have to do a 5-minute ish. If you're working in a school with infants and toddlers and you want to do a quick observation in that classroom, that's okay too. Just let me know. Let me know which video you're watching or what you're doing. And if you find a video on your own, all right, should I do it this way? Yeah. I'm not good today with technology. Thank you. All right, as long as I don't trip and kill myself, we'll be okay. All right. So I think the first ones are due next week, or is it this week?
This week.
This week. So with your signed schedules too. So again, if you didn't get your schedule signed yet by your CT, get it signed, send it to me. I'll sign it, send it back to you, and you'll upload it to Watermark and D2L. Okay, so let's take an overview look at infant toddler environment. Not my day. All right, so the environment. If any of you familiar with the Reggio Emilia philosophy, have you heard of that? Reggio Emilia. So in Reggio Emilia, they talk about the environment as being the 3rd teacher, which makes a lot of sense. So because you are, to me anyway, the most important thing in the classroom, what you do with the children really matters. So, you are the first teacher, the curriculum and materials are a teacher, and the environment is a teacher. And in Reggio, Reggio Emilia comes from Italy, and there's a lot of, there's programs in the Chicagoland area that adopt that philosophy. But Reggio, kind of like, I think of Montessori, beautiful materials. There are a lot of wood, right? A lot of brick. Can you tell us a little bit about your environment, where you work? They have their own space, yeah. And a lot of wood and a lot of real materials, right? Like, yeah. And real dishes, okay? Yeah, right. So some people might be frightened. And how does that work? How does it go?
It works really well for them. Better than you would expect. And then they also are able to bring these built on really good. And they'll eat their snack and they'll be able to take a little small table area. They will scrub their lower sit. They don't watch it again, but they do a beautiful job.
They can do it. Right, right. And I think you're conveying to them that you trust, like you were talking about, you trust them. And they can do it. So, and a Reggio Emilia classroom, also classrooms that they have a lot of real materials, wood and breakable objects that you might be a little intimidated by with children. So you really want to think about the beauty of the environment and how do you make that environment beautiful? Maybe by bringing natural materials in and very unlike these classrooms, right? no windows drives me crazy that there's no, none of these classrooms have windows. But, think about that, how important it is to be in a beautiful environment and how when the environment is beautiful, children want to explore and engage and try out different materials, and they can do all these wonderful things. All right, so how do infants and toddlers respond to their environment? Please feel free to follow along on your laptops because I know this is less than ideal. So we know that they learn from their environments when they have secure relationships. When they have secure relationships with the teachers or caregivers in the classroom, they are free to explore their classrooms and learn. And the classrooms really need to be very well arranged. In infant room, you might have a very open environment where you can easily see everything. In a toddler room, maybe you still have some defined areas, but you still have that openness. Whereas in preschool, you might have more defined areas too. Because with preschoolers, you should be able to supervise them by sight and sound, and sometimes by sound. With infants and toddlers, you need to see them. Even with preschoolers sometimes, right? All the time. I mean, you blink your eyes and something may happen. So you really want to think about with infants and toddlers for children to be able to use their senses, right? And we know with infants too, what do? How do they learn about things? They put them in their mouths, right? So you want to make sure the materials are safe. So there was a woman who passed away, I'm not sure how many years ago now, Magda Gerber. She was an infant and toddler specialist and has written many curriculum books on infants and toddlers. She was the person who coined the phrase for infants. Caregiving is the curriculum. And if you think about that with infants, you're caregiving throughout the day, whether you're feeding them, putting them down for a nap, changing diapers, or giving them time to explore the environment. So she said, infancy is a vulnerable stage of development. Therefore, it is not enough that babies receive good care. The care must be excellent. And again, that starts with relationships. Want to keep them safe, and I'll let you read everything else here. You want to keep them safe and secure first and foremost. And then they can explore their environments, and you want to give them interesting and beautiful things to explore. So as you work on your income lesson plans, I just got these. I had that big funky book before. Ordering this book is a little bit different, but I just got these little guidelines. Handy little guidelines that you can use today. So what you're going to do is you're going to work on infant lessons. You'll really work on it more so the next time we get together in 2 weeks. Today, like I said, I just want you to brainstorm. Remember, you're going to use the guidelines, the Illinois Early Learning Guidelines, not the Illinois Early Learning and Development Standards, because this is geared for children under the age of 3. I'll show you the pictures of the materials I have in my office. If anybody wants them, you're welcome to use them. There is a modified lesson plan in D2L. It's under lesson plans for infants and toddlers. So it is a little more user-friendly than the other one. We do for the preschool lesson plans. I know, I don't remember if this group asked, but I know my other group asked. We do have to use the Goodwin College of Education lesson plan for the preschool lesson plans. I am not saying you have to fill out every element in that lesson. So we'll take a look at that. It's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot. And as many of your teachers will say to you, I know a lot of CPS teachers have said this to the students, you're never going to have to fill it out again. You know, the whole reason why you were, although we won't do every section, but the whole reason why you're filling out this very detailed lesson plan is because you're learning and you're a student and you're trying to figure out how do you connect theory to the specific children in your classroom, to the language demands and procedures and all that. Okay, so, and I have, if you're looking at the PowerPoint right now, for today, I gave you a bunch of resources that you can use for your lesson plan. Remember, for infants, caregiving is the routine. So keep that appropriate. All right, so I'm going to let you get into groups. I did have some students who made requests, and I had students that did not make requests, so I did create groups. And hopefully this will work for everybody. So what you'll do, so for infants, just for the sake of clarity, for infants, I would say the youngest would be maybe about 5 months, 6 months of age, up to 14 months. Because when you hit 50 age, 15 to 20, 56 on the top. When you do the toddler lesson plan, you can determine one younger toddler or two. For today, let groups decide if you want to write a lesson for younger infants or one infant. It doesn't have to be a group, or older. So 5 months up to whatever, or the older infant up to 14 months, and maybe brainstorm what you want to do. All right, so here's what I came up with, and and then I've got 3 sets of the guidelines up here. I also have I've got Nancy and Justine, Fatima and Malik, Mandy and Akashia, and Julia, Diana, and Anna.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, it's just like Anna and Eve.
And I noticed you were saying the kids call you Miss Anna.
Oh yeah, just because it's like I don't want to explain them to like, well, what's your name, and I just call you Miss Anna. Like I'm okay with Anna too. Yeah.
Whatever your name.
Yeah.
So why don't you go in and get with your partner or partners, say 1 group of 3, and I will come to each group and I will show you what the toys I have in my office. I have 3 sets of these that people want to see if I want one. If people want to look at them. And I'll come around and I'll show you. But basically, all you have to do today. Yeah, I only have 3 sets. All you have to do today is take a little time. So let me give you about 10 minutes and then we'll come back together and I'll just wrap up. Infants, remember infants. 5 months up to 14 months.
Or you type.
Where can we find this?
That's right. Maybe the lesson clips.
Yeah, we'll go back. Yeah. Do you have a preference of whether you want to do early infants or
It's either one.
One of the main things that I'm thinking when it comes to infants is sensory.
Can you show me what I've got? Soft blocks. Soft blocks that have colors and say shape names on them, soft blocks. Okay, so this is one of those soft, like shape sorter things.
Oh, the blocks.
Yeah, this one is more for toddlers. So the shape sorter, I have books. I also have book shape sorter, a soft shape sorter that would be appropriate for infants. I have books, if anybody wants books. What's that? Probably, probably. They're called emotion mirrors, so I have little mirrors. I have little mirrors. And little mirrors.
It's really hard to manipulate what the
Yeah, for the infant one, it's kind of hard to.
I know they like mirrors and
Bean bags.
sensory.
These are all for infants. These are bean bags. Bean bags. And I've got books. These styles are for toddlers. That's everything. I have a few things for toddlers too.
I don't know if they'd be able to grasp. It's okay, so since birth to 9 months, they are able to focus on caregivers' attention through use of sound, cry, gestures. Oh, getting care.
So this is a lesson plan little thing where you're using it.
Yeah, I think so. I think.
They're kind of more simple-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, the kids, they like mirrors and music and maybe the animal
Oh yeah.
and books.
Sound.
I think for the little only one infant, so maybe only like a 1-to-1. That one. And there'll be one kid.
Then I can do something with either a music or where they get to explore different musical instruments.
I know they like the shakers. The shakers for sure.
Tambourine, fun, or something where they get to explore different sensory.
The like little piano, is this those little pianos where maybe the animal pop up? I think there was that too. Okay.
I'll just. Are you able to pull it?
Yeah. I think my computer no power.
Maybe you can write down your email and when I go home. Better and
Yeah.
Right now, I'm just looking at 37 is
Will we be using the one from here or from here?
website. You wanna look into this one and see if there's anything like that.
Which one are we looking? Oh, the. Are we doing the earlier one?
Anyone, really, whatever, I would say,
The later one? So 7:18?
but you can only do 14.
Yeah. So what are we looking? Which,
Maybe creative expression.
creative expression 55. We just have to lose it on one.
Yeah. That's it. And then grab something. One time.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you about 2 more minutes.
So are we concerned with the sensitive? Yes. Yeah, so which one, the one on the, or the one on the. Some of the.
And I got. Everybody then covered.
Oh, I go. I said like 8 to 9. I thought we were doing it. No, she said you were 2 to 5. Yeah. 14. But.
Like the last night.
No, it's not even.
Oh, but I think that was pretty big. I got it. I know. Figured out a copy for me. Oh, it's on your.
Everybody get together. I got in. Class is almost over, but I'm in. But I'm in. I persevere. All right, so next time we come together, really, we'll do some more reflecting on your preschool experiences. That was great today. That was lovely. A lot of really important topics and points came up. And then the main focus will be you'll work on your infant lesson plans and you'll present them. And remember, I'm not making you do them because, we can be very imaginative and creative, but I think it would be very difficult in this room to imagine the rest of us are infants. Yeah, right. So, so you'll present them. I do want you, when you're presenting, to at least give us an example of something that you would say or do, just to demonstrate that. So this is the modified, if you go into D2L in the content section of lesson plans, this is the modified infant and toddler lesson plan. This is the one that you should be using for the infant lesson plan you're going to be working on and the toddler one. So again, decide if it's younger infants or older infants. Hopefully you've done that already. I'm not expecting you, because it's infants, to do a large group, but do you want to do it with one infant? Do you want to do it with a couple? And we know how infants are. You might have a great plan and they may roll up somewhere else. That's how it is with infants. So the first thing you'll do is come up with your standards and goals, which your standards are really those Illinois early learning guidelines. I love those guidelines because not only are they written by domain, but there's also, as you remember, when we looked at it before, they're written by age group. And it gives you some strategies of what you can do and what you can expect of each age group. So you'll come up with that. You'll have a focus and objectives. What concepts or what do you expect the children to be able to do? And it could be as simple as, I don't know that you'll be doing it with a baby this age, but you've got a baby who is on his tummy and you're trying to encourage him to move and to reach for toys. So think about, I think it's really important with infants, think about where they are developmentally and this is where your knowledge of child development comes in, where they're going to go next. So I think it's really important to think about that. Next, what materials will you use? You do not have to go out and buy anything. You do not have to bring anything. If you are able to bring something in because you have infants in your lives or you work somewhere, feel free, bring something in. If you want to use something from my office, I have a few more things when it comes to the toddler lesson plans that I'll show you. You're welcome to use something from my office. And then really break down what you're going to be doing. Again, with infants, so much of it is taking cues from them. And we need to recognize that. And then, basically assessment in the simplest form is, how will you know what you did was successful? And, like Anna said, sometimes it's not. And listen, with babies, right? You might plan some great activity, but they might be ready for a nap or they might need to eat something. So that's where your intention always has to be. first and foremost on your mind. So with an infant, and it's really your observations of what they're doing. And then remember, for all your lesson plans in my class, infant, toddler, preschool, do not write your reflections until afterwards, because we'll present in class and I will ask everybody to share some feedback in your presentation. What were the strengths? What suggestions do people have, and anything else? So that is the infant toddler lesson plan. Again, it's in content in D2L, and as long as I'm up on that handy dandy screen now, I can also show you, because I think Fatima asked, where are they? There's videos. There's a bunch of video clips. The infant, toddler. Just make sure you do an infant one, make sure you do a toddler one for each assignment. Some of the videos might be infants and toddlers together, which is perfectly fine. So that's everything I can show you there. Questions, comments? Anything? No. All right, let me just go back here. All right, so I feel so much better that I can have this on the screen. Yeah. Right. So this combined, and that's why as a teacher, you need a plan A, you need a plan B, and sometimes you need a plan C. Sometimes things don't work. So I appreciate everybody's flexibility with me today as I stumbled through and used 500 different passwords before I found her. It's hard to remember all those darn passwords. I've got something in here about the principles of child development, but I think we're going to look at that another time. All right, so let me just go here. So watermark, by now, you should have 10 hours in watermark. Okay, that's a lot for infant. That would be the 3 hours where we did the Illinois Early Guidelines in class, way back when at the beginning, and hours for those gateways modules 7A, 7B, and 7C. So you should have 2 separate entries in watermark for your infant toddler hours. And I do believe that when you put your hours in watermark, it asks you location. And so for the infant toddlers, I think you can just bypass that. You do not have to, right? Is that right? Yeah, good, thank you. You do not have to put a location in, although your school for preschool you would. Gently remind your CT every 3 weeks, for sure before spring break to approve your hours. And make sure they can get into watermark. If they can't, let me know. And if they want to have the meeting, I'm happy to do that. And then I'll just, like I said, I've already emailed your CTs a couple of times, but their responsibility of watermark is to approve your hours, put in their license number if they have a license. If they're in a public school setting, they will have a license. Heather does not, and people in childcare centers, they may not, which is perfectly fine, not a problem. They do not have to do a written evaluation of your preschool lesson plans. I do hope and expect them to give you feedback. And hopefully when I'm there, give you feedback so we can all talk together. And then at the end of the semester, they will complete that pre-CPAS evaluation. But we have a lot of time before that. Maybe it'll be more. Questions about that? Okay. All right. So next week, February, I feel like February just started. It's almost over. So next week we are not together. You will complete the other, and this is your final set of gateways training modules 2A, 2B, and 2C. As I said, the following week we'll work on the infant lesson plans. I will, once I have, just repeating myself from earlier, once I have everybody's schedules, I'll be emailing you, no surprises. I'm not going to just show up one day. I promise, never have done that, never will. I will email you so we can mutually agree upon a date and time that works for you, me, and your cooperating teacher. Just so everybody knows too, and I'm thinking about doing something differently. If you go a little bit ahead with some of the assignments, that's awesome. There is a check with me first, okay, because I change my mind. Sometimes, it's better for everybody when I change my mind. So there is something in D2L, an assignment, a health safety and health nutrition and safety brochure that you would do that counts toward infant toddler hours. I think I might do something different in class. So we'll do something in class. So like I said, if you want to work ahead with the videos, that's great. Other things you might want to check with me so you don't have to do anything unnecessary. All right, so next steps, get those schedules signed, get them in D2L and Watermark. Please get your clinical site information form completed, and that goes only in D2L. All of these schools start to look alike to me after a little while, so it's really important. I know what door to go in and where to park my car and where to go, because I get very confused. I know Wesley already, and but I get very confused. Or some of these schools are humongous, right? What's that?
So my daycare, super simple.
Good. I like super simple. I like super simple. I like to be on time. I work very hard. 2 or 3 observations in a day. I work very hard to be on time. Sometimes I'm not on time, but I work very hard. And usually when I do the observation, just so everybody knows, actually, there's 2 things I can tell you. I'm usually there an hour. Even if you're doing small groups, maybe I'll observe a couple of rounds of small groups, and then we sit and talk. And if your CT is available, ideally that would be less for the 3 of us to talk, even if it's just for a few minutes, because I know how busy they are. The other thing I will tell you, because I have heard not from here in Northeastern, but from Oakton College, when I do that students are intimidated by this. When I do observations, I type on my laptop. Okay, is that good? Did you say or bad? But I type on my laptop just because it's quicker for me than writing. And sometimes I cannot read my writing.
She's gonna see me like, oh, it's a class.
But here's what people, say, what are you typing? All I'm typing is what you're saying and some of what the kids are saying. And I might do a timestamp. I might say, 10 a.m., all the kids go on the rug, and then I just type what you say, and 10:17 a.m., they transit, that's all I'm typing. That's nothing secret. I'm happy to share it with you. Some people might not, like, you hear my nails clicking on the keys. I'm just typing what you're saying. Yeah.
How long are you there?
An hour. Doesn't mean I'm observing an hour. I might be observing, if you're doing a large group time, I might be observing 15 or 20 minutes. I might be observing 30 minutes or more, depending if you're rotating small groups. Usually an hour. If I'm doing 2 or 3 observations that day and I'm on a tight schedule, I'll let you know, hey, I have to leave by this time. But I usually do pretty good. Not always, but I'm mostly on time. I've been doing this for 5 years. I'm mostly on time, driving all over the place. So yeah, usually I'm there for an hour. And again, ideally, if your CT can sit down with us for a few minutes, that's fabulous. If they can't, I get it. Because they're busy, they're working with the kids, and I don't want to interrupt them. But I usually like to at least check in with them informally too. Other questions? Good. How you feeling? Feeling all right? Yeah. It'll be spring break before we know it. I don't know if it'll feel like spring break, but it will be spring break before we know it. Okay, and here's Loris Malaguzzi. He is the founder of the Reggio Emilia philosophy that I talked briefly about before. There are 3 teachers of children: adults, other children, and their physical environment. He said other children. So that's pretty powerful to me. All right. So you don't really have to work on your infant lesson plan between now and the next time we come together, because I will give you time to class. If you want to connect with your partner or partners a little bit, just to give yourselves a sense of what you want to do, don't overthink it. It's infants, right? Very relationship based, very routine. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Have a great week. Stay warm, be careful. It's going to be really cold all week. I'll write down my password so I don't have this trouble again.
Yeah. Oh, they're all.
Thanks. So I did create well an assignment around it. Put it in there. I think it's, what did I call it? I think I called it late and extra. So this year, I usually. Yes, yes. Yeah. Late, I think it's late and extras.
The funny thing is, he was like, oh, you're not afraid of heights. I said, no, I'm not. And then you're like, I'm afraid of heights. Never asked if I'm afraid of flying here.
Prior learning credit. What age, so you're 2 to 5-year-olds? Fine. I don't know, there is a portfolio you have to put together. It's 2 to 5-year-olds. Maybe, the next clinical is kindergarten, first or second. Right?
It's like,
You might be able to do it for that. So, right, there is a process for you to go through. Let me do a Dr. Maldonado for a class. If you can talk to her about it too, she's but there is something that you have to put together. You might be able to do it for the next clinic. For student teaching, it would be a little more challenging. There's more you have to do, but you might be able to. And you would like it. But it's, but I like that you're in a different setting than your Montessori school. I think it's something interesting for you to come here. Right. Yeah, let me find out about it. You can ask Dr. Maldonado. You might do it.
So you just have to text them or.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll look into it and I'll let you know when I find out. You need me to sign? All right, so you have to fill out the date of start. I can't sign it till you. So I need the starting date.
That's why you got. You don't have to sign it. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Can't do it.
Gonna have to get.
I mean, you could always like your last day or your last minute, last hours, but you need to put in, you need to fill this out, you need to put in your start date and if you're there, so you're there 8 hours a week, that's.
I
might be
said.
It's so hard.
I said. Then after the court.
Yeah. Okay. So why don't you write that down here, but put the dates here too.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't sign it.
Yeah.
Or if you want to email it to me. But if you want to do it now, it's so.
Okay. Yeah, I'm in that class. I'm just, I don't know, though, I might be applying. I'm so I'm down there.
2 videos. One is in the one time.
Like, I touch you and I feel about, like,
So each of them, one is in video and one time.
I replied, I
So you're gonna do 4 times.
I just like. Right.
And then you do 4 hours.
Forget your bag.
in
That was very. All right, that question's a good time.
2 videos. One in-
Yeah. All right, fine.
2 weeks. Yeah. Yeah, so if you do that, just write a quick summary of it, and then there's something. else. If you don't have any comments, so if you do know the 2 hours, because no one has responded to me. Yeah, if you do that, then, you know, as we go, we'll figure out there's something else we won't have to. You can do, yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
For the, I totally, you know what, I forgot about it because nobody responded.
Yeah.
That was good. That was good. Yeah. But yeah, you can do that and then, you know, it's 2 hours. So, you know, you can skip a video. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Or you can skip something. Yeah, so as long as your infant toddler hours add up to 50. You'll be good. Yeah.